Hey, this is KNB, and you are listening to The Center Ring.
Okay, so let's start.
Hello. Hello and welcome back to another edition of The Center Ring, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast. Episode 151 coming to you live, pre-recorded from an undisclosed location. The date, April 1st, 2018. April Fools! Oh, God. It's 2019. The time, 8:50 p.m. Central Standard Time. We have the best episode ever today. It's pretty light. I won't actually lie to you. We will go over some of our recent... See, look, this is so ingenious of us, right? We always give our thoughts and predictions in every episode, but little did you know, they were all just April Fools. So we'll go over some of our biggest April Fool jokes from the year and just see how bad we got you guys on what we predicted. But before we do that, let's introduce the crew. Hello, my name is Tim. I will be your captain into this journey into esports. Alongside me, as always, we have Anuj. Hello, Anuj.
What's up, fellas? How y'all doing?
Hello, hello. And we have Brett. Hello, Brett.
Hello.
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 Did you tell them we're streaming live out of our parents' basements? All of us here?
Of course. We're esports. That's where we live. Where else would we be other than our parents' basements, eating Doritos, drinking Mountain Dew? We're e-gamers.
Yell out meatloaf.
we're
Mom.
e-gamers.
Meatloaf. Want it now.
Go ahead and follow us on social media. If you're not already, what are you doing? It's at The Center Ring on Twitter. Get all the news, updates on the shows, when we go live, when we stream. We stream throughout the week, play them e-games because we're e-gamers. So do that. Our website, tcr.gg, has all the links to YouTube and Discord and all that. Be a part of the conversation. And if you follow us on YouTube, you would have noticed a few new additions. Table Talk, which is like a quick hits type of thing. Name in progress. Don't know if I like it. We'll figure it out, though, as we go. That's where we'll talk about things we don't have time to talk to about the show. We are doing a in-season weekly Dallas Fuel recap show because, let's face it, we are all Dallas homers. It's not just Brett. So we don't have a whole lot of time on the show to talk about the Dallas Fuel, which is our home team. So we decided to do a separate show on our YouTube channel. Also, we talked to, speaking of the Dallas Fuel, we interviewed Zachary, their flex DPS, and we talked to him, what was it, last Wednesday, Brett? Something like that?
Yep.
Last week?
Something like that.
So we had a good sit-down interview. It was almost like 30 minutes long, and we posted that up on our YouTube channel as well. So if you're into not just the Dallas Fuel, we kind of kept it Overwatch League vague specific topic. So if Overwatch League is your thing, or even if it's not, go ahead and check that out. It was a pretty good interview. Very good dude.
But
so that's all up on
puppy.
our YouTube. But hates puppies,
And
you'll figure that out.
If you just watch the episode.
Watch the episode.
Do it.
So all that's on our YouTube, and you can find all that tcr.gg. But let's get into this week's episode. Without further ado, I said that we were going to go over some of our biggest April Fool jokes that we've been going on throughout all year. So let's start with one of the biggest one, boys, and that is Cloud9 NA is back. April Fools, Anuj.
April Fools, and it got us all so good, right? So last year, I guess it was 2018, we had the Boston Major. Cloud9 sitting on top. We're all waving our flags, feeling good. I mean, I couldn't have been feeling any better at the time for NACS just because we've been the laughingstock for so long in Counter-Strike.
And
I
on
mean,
home soil, nonetheless, too. Like
yeah, I mean, it made it
everyone
so
says,
much
every time there's
sweeter.
an NA major, you always hear the same thing: is like NA doesn't deserve a major.
When
And
they
here we were.
say the phrase "you can't top this," I didn't know we were going to take it like so literal. I mean, this was like really a rough, long way down. I mean, because since then, obviously the team that we all knew as Cloud9, the championship team at that point, is really no longer together. The core has split up on various teams, retired, whatever, just not with them anymore. And you have Automatic and Rush being the only two players left. I mean, I think at that time, what they were ranked top 3 in the world after they won the
Yeah.
major.
They were number
I
2
think
for a little bit on HLTV.
yeah, I think FaZe was number 1 at the time, and FaZe was heavily favored in that major to win. That's who Cloud9 ended up meeting in the championship there. And since then, they've gone from number 2 to what is the current world ranking today? Have any of you seen this?
No, do you have it
Oh,
in
I
front
no,
of
I,
you?
I actually haven't. This is going to be a surprise to me.
All right, all right, all
Lay it
right,
on me,
all right.
Anush.
Don't pull up notes. Don't pull up notes. Give me a solid guess.
All
And
right,
think where
world ranking.
CLG red is, and then like think below that.
Ooh, ooh.
I'm gonna say 12.
Oh,
Are they out of
12?
top 10?
I'm gonna. Okay, so Cloud9.
I
I'm gonna
hope
go.
that was an April Fool's joke, Tim.
I'm,
But I'm gonna give you one more guess just for fun after
I'm
break.
gonna. I'm gonna go 29.
Okay. Okay. Tim, give me another guess, please. Let's try to play this game and be real when we're talking numbers here.
I'm sticking with my 12th pick.
Think more like the number of viewers we have.
Oh, like so like 1,000 million?
Okay. They are sitting at 138 currently.
Ooh.
And now there's a reason. No, this is a little skewed. Okay,
Yeah, that's
obviously
what I
this
was gonna
number
say. You
130.
always have to explain how they do these.
I got to
rankings.
explain how they get to this point. So you're valued for each team member's contributions per tournament, right? So each player essentially has a number associated with them. And so with the addition of Vice recently, who hasn't had a lot of big tournament experience where he would generate a lot of points, Golden, who has been inactive for X period of time while they do these rankings, and then the big news for today, Keo being released, who really had a lot of the top points for them, all got eliminated off of their roster. And so with the updated rankings for this past week, it dropped them to 138. I mean,
Yeah.
that's how the mighty have fallen. Now you can't expect them to probably jump up into the mid 20s after they compete next week at Blast Pro Miami, I believe is coming up. So they'll generate a lot of points there. But yeah, they're sitting at 138 currently. And I'll be honest with you, not to say that they're 138th in the world, but I have a hard time believing with this lineup they're going to crack a top 30, top 40 spot. With the way it currently sits and looking with where they're at, they'll get invited to enough tournaments to stay above that number. But I don't think quality wise and what we're going to get from this team, I mean, this is a team that's now going to have to go back through the American minor qualifier. Okay, so a team coming off of a major and roughly a year ago at this point, is going to have to go through the minor qualifier system, which for those of you that don't know, the qualifiers in Counter-Strike are brutal. They're long. There's a lot of matches you have to play, a lot of opportunity for upset. You see it all the time on the EU side. We're seeing it more in the NA side as the depth becomes more real, but they're gonna have a long road to get back to the major, and it's
Yeah.
just crazy to see where it's gone.
And I'm sure it's going to be a grind too, because ultimately, like Cloud9, the big name, they're going to want to like go to invite tournaments, right? And then they also have all these qualifying tournaments going on. It's going to be a rough
But I
go
do
for
say,
sure.
though, if you want to look at like a bright side, or if you want to look at this glass half full type of thing.
You're quiet,
Did I
Tim.
turn myself down?
Yeah.
You did.
So if you want to look at this as a glass half full, or the bright side, or anything like that, is the fact that they are Cloud9. They still have the name behind it, so they're still at least going to be invited to some tournaments that maybe skillfully they don't really
Well,
make sense being at.
Yeah, invite tournaments, sure, but even then they're losing. Like the NA fan base is splintered with them, right? Like they're bringing
Right.
in half euros to play on the team. The
Cajun
only
Bees rumored
household,
to be coming in.
He is, yeah. So it's official. He's
Oh,
stepping in
okay, it,
for
it
him,
did
and
become
will be
official.
playing.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's officially going to be at the Blast Pro Series Miami's,
Yeah. You bring up the
playing
NA
for them.
fan though, and I could almost say that this was like the NA scene is almost April Fools in itself to their fan base because other than Liquid, I mean, who do you have as an NA fan to like really get behind? Don't
NRG.
don't say NRG. I
Yeah.
knew you were gonna say
But
NRG.
Tarek is a household name, right? So having Tarek on your team brings automatic notoriety. Liquid obviously has plenty of star power,
Liquid,
so they're
right?
one. But
And
between Liquid and NRG, and then let's not forget
Brigade.
Complexity has won a lot of people's hearts over recently. I'm not saying they're at the Cloud9 level in terms of Counter Strike. They are in many other areas
Yeah.
and above. But with their most recent major run, there was a lot of rooting interest behind them, right? Like people wanted to see them do well. I think they were highly rooted for going into this major, although expected to play poorly again, kind of won a lot of hearts over with how they played in the most recent majors. So I'm not saying they're more popular than Cloud9 is, but in terms of fandom, like I mean, an NA fan should probably be split in terms of, hey, I mean, I would root just as much for Complexity now as I would for Cloud9 now. I have no like my heart's not with Cloud9 like it used to be. I mean, it really was there for so long because that was, from the Sean Gears era, with Shroud, and obviously you go back to Nothing, Skadoodle coming on, and then Stewie being the
Right.
new. There's like
Like
always something
no
positive
matter how
to root
bad they
for.
were, you at least had the fact that it was
They
your
were
NA
likable.
boys, right?
Yeah,
Like,
they were our
yeah, we
guys.
might not be winning tournaments, but they're us. They're,
Yeah,
they're Americans or Canadian, if you want to look at Shroud, losing. So you always had that there. I don't
they
know.
represented the U.S. banner. That was what was
Correct.
important, right?
Correct. I think for an NA fan in Counter Strike right now, you're a little bit conflicted. I don't think the mass of people are really conditioned to root for NRG just yet. Just yet. I know they have Tarek and I know they have some household names now, but it's like as they've shown multiple times now, when it gets to a tournament, you definitely don't bet on NRG.
yeah, but I also wouldn't discount like to me Counter Strike fans are a lot like I guess like NBA fans when I feel like most younger people are just attached to a player, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh, for
Tarek, I
sure.
mean,
For
he's
sure.
just a huge personality.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, they followed him a little bit to MIBR, and then now
Yeah.
here. So I wouldn't discount that
Yeah, and it's
fully.
true. I mean, even like Stewie and all that, these guys, people are fans of these players in this game for the most part. Obviously, there's some loyalty towards your organization, but with the way rosters swap in esports, it's really hard, and there's no franchising in these leagues, so it's not like it's dedicated to a city or anything of that sort. But
Yeah.
Cloud9 was that one household name and for
Mhm.
CS:GO fans. Like everybody kind of rooted for them. And now you look at them and they're running into issues of even finding stability. It's hard to fall in love with the team again when there's no consistencies in the players that they're keeping on the team, right? So um I saw this post on Twitter today, and it was talking about the average time of their active
I
lineups.
saw this.
The longest is like, who's this from? This is Ryan at I'll give him credit here. Ryan at Rushby Media posted this today, and he said the longest duration anybody has had with this roster was since Dewey's departure, has been 63 days, and that was with the roster that played in the major. Other time frames 45 days, 36, 48, 21, 42, with an average of 42 and a half across the board since Dewey left. And so, again,
Yeah.
it's not that they've just
It's
fallen from the top. It's
mhm.
just they've lost complete organization within their CS:GO team, and
Yeah.
it's like they don't know what they're doing
And
anymore.
it's not like it's even like small changes. It's huge changes. I mean, you're talking like two or three players, which in a game like Counter Strike is huge. If it's one, it's manageable.
I just feel
There
like
have
they've
been
kind
teams
of
that
lost their
added a player
identity as
that
an
can
org.
kind of sustain. So, I mean, yeah, it's just they need to find consistency. It's insane how much turnover they've had.
I feel like they've kind of lost their identity though when it comes to like being an org, where it's you had. Did you see the tweets from Keo today? It might have been yesterday even. about
Yeah,
how
where he's like, if there's too much power,
yeah, it was kind
something
of
he was
like
talking about.
inconspicuous on like what he really meant by it. It was like he was saying how not every time someone leaves, it's up to the org's decision. He was like, some orgs are ran by the players, some orgs aren't. I'm paraphrasing, of course. This isn't exactly what Keo tweeted out, but it was
Mm.
along those lines. And it kind of sort of hinted that maybe it was like the player's decision to have him off the team and not necessarily Cloud9, the orgs. Uh, which,
If
if that's the case, it's just, I don't know, man. They're in a weird spot.
I
I
mean,
don't blame Russian Automatic for feeling if they feel a certain way, right? We don't know how they feel. We don't even know if that's the players we're talking about, but we can assume they're the longest tenured players on the team. Um, but I wouldn't be shocked if Russian Automatic are incredibly disappointed with how this has all turned out since
Yeah, of
everything
course.
has gone down, right? Like they haven't made a move. You have teams like again, we mentioned Liquid, Complexity, NRG. You have Ghost ranked ahead of them. You know, Ghost Gaming has been on the rise. Like all these teams are NA based teams that have young talent. You're going to see Envy start climbing the boards here a little bit with some of the acquisitions that they're making and changes that they're making. You're looking at potentially being the fifth best team in NA. Which to think about a year ago, we had trouble probably naming three top teams to even compete in NA, and now you're about to be the fifth best one. So, yeah, if Russian Automatic are upset with how this has all turned out, I can't say I blame them for feeling that way because there is a lot of talent in NA. Cloud9 hasn't made a push to acquire any of them, don't want to pay the buyouts, whatever the situation may be. They're not getting the job done. And like any true fan or player, you would be naturally upset about those things. Like the Cowboys not making moves during free agency, it bothers me. It's probably the same thing that these guys are feeling internally. It's like, man,
yeah,
there's talent out there.
and it's not
Why aren't we getting it?
and it's not even like they're giving up, right? Like I also saw, and I think it was believed from the same guy, um, talking about how consistent Automatic's been, and how good he's been even with these bad rosters. So it's like he's like, man, I'm doing all I can here. I've bought in. I want to be here. I'm still playing my ass off, but where's the help?
Yeah. What's gonna be funny is April Fools for 2020 will be the resurgence of Cloud9's roster with the addition of Cajun B.
Oh damn.
Let's get on to the next April Fool's joke that we said in the past here. So it's been highly publicized that I'm not a fan of Fortnite. I don't think that's a secret from anyone, from any listener of the show. Don't like it. Don't think it's entertaining to watch. Don't think it's entertaining to play.
It's one man's opinion, though, guys. You don't have to believe him.
But it is the right opinion. But I did make an April Fool's earlier where I said Apex was going to destroy Fortnite and kill it. That was an April Fool's, and everyone fell for it. And because clearly now you could see, it's kind of weird. Now, spoiler alert, Fortnite's not dead. It's still the top of Twitch. In fact, who would have guessed that Grand Theft Auto RP was going to be the death of Fortnite? That's the RP servers in Grand Theft Auto are the real death of Fortnite. No, I mean, I want to take at least 10 minutes to kind of discuss this Apex Fortnite feud because, when Apex first came out, I mean, it was destroying Twitch in the sense of numbers. Everyone was jumping on board. I don't know if it was their slow start to season 1 and how season 1 came out and still not really what people were looking for. Or is it the fact that Fortnite just announced a World Cup with like a $40 million prize pool involved? That doesn't hurt people moving back to Fortnite. But surely, I mean, it's, Epic has proven that no, we're not just going to roll over.
Yeah, and I think a huge part is, I mean, if we're on the topic of Twitch, right? The big personalities haven't bought out. Like, they play with the shiny new toy, but they went back for whatever reason, and I mean that's going to play a big part. I mean, we see it all the time, like Lyric or Summit will play a game and it's like top selling on Steam. So same here. Now, if Ninja was like, man, this Apex thing, man, I'm gonna go ahead and stick with this and roll with this. I mean, maybe that kind of sways a little bit. It's just funny how just a few personalities can kind of sway
Right.
a way a
And
game is
I will say this too,
perceived.
because so Mr. Zen actually brings up in our Twitch chat, hello Zen, by the way, is with many games, Apex will die if it doesn't start putting money into the effort into catering to the esports world more than its game. It needs to advance an esports title. Although I agree with Zen on that point, Fortnite hasn't put money into its esports scene either. And I say that in the sense of there's a difference of just setting up a giant ass prize pool and then actually putting money into your esports world or catering to esports. In fact, people who play Fortnite will claim the exact opposite, that they care very little about its competitive and esports side, which is something that frustrates anyone who tries to play Fortnite, where, 1 week it's a sword, 1 week it's a hamster ball, the next week it's an airplane that ruins the tournaments. It's
So yeah,
it's
I
different.
totally agree because Fortnite's in season 8 and they just released a competitive mode. Okay, so think about that. We're 8 seasons into that game. It's been big since season 2 or 3. Really took off around like middle of 2, like going into 3.
Mm-hmm.
4 or 5 seasons later, they just came out with the competitive mode. On the flip side of kind of what Brett said, yeah, the personalities, they just need to understand their audience. And for a lot of these guys, their viewing audience is probably between the ages of 11 and 17 years old for the most part. And these are the ones that are still playing, are heavily invested into Fortnite. I mean, it's not like it was going to just die. We were thinking, oh, we'll see a good split in player base. Apex will be able to keep up, but they understand their audience. Ninja's audience wants them to play Fortnite, right?
Right.
You kind of see that across the board. Cypher, Nick A, like all these guys, their
Well,
audience
that's
wants
the
to.
curse of a streamer, right?
Yeah, and so but there's a difference, right? Like where Summits in Lyric, they're variety streamers. They let it be known their audience wants them to do more story-based gameplay where they can get involved, whether that's Sea of Thieves or Grand Theft Auto. It's just different, right? So I'm not as shocked that the numbers have swayed back to Fortnite. But the big aspect is the $40 million prize pool. Let's be real. That is an insane number for any game. You look at
Yeah.
Counter-Strike majors, $1 million. Look at what Overwatch players are being
Dude,
paid,
when
for
the
wins.
when the World Cup for Overwatch League starts, it is $1 million tournaments per week. They're doing per week what Counter-Strike does twice a freaking year for its largest tournaments.
Yeah, but even then, we're talking 40 million in like a couple weeks span for these guys where the winner takes home God only knows what. I mean, I know we talked about it a few episodes ago. Um, But 40 million is no joke. And when Apex hasn't announced anything in terms of, hey, this is a big tournament that we have coming up, it's going to be
Mhm.
hard to get people away from a competitive standpoint. You're going to go where the money is.
Yeah.
And the final thing to what you had to say was, again, with season 1, it was a slow launch. Like, I know everyone's like, well, the game's only 4 weeks in. Dude, you live and die in this industry in a couple of weeks'
Oh yeah.
time. It can flip on you.
Yeah.
Um, they needed, in my opinion, to push out more content with their season 1 release rather than say, "Hey, here's a couple of free skins. Okay, now go play and you'll get
It seemed like a
28 badge
lazy season
icons."
Yeah,
You know?
1. Seemed like a
Yeah,
lazy season
yeah,
1.
it definitely feels that way. And in Apex, I thought when the game launched, I felt like they were poised to learn from other BR games' mistakes, right? Like we've criticized PUBG for being reactionary. Don't be reactionary, be proactive in the changes that you make. If you really wanted to get into competitive, you would have, got into it sooner. But I mean, fans don't take a reactionary um, stance very lightly. I mean, it's killed one game.
yeah.
I
I would
think
have
though
loved
what
to.
what what you have to realize though with these free to play games, and when especially like with the battle royale or Apex or Fortnite or anything like that, it's such a sheep mentality to where if the crowd and if your group of friends is going back to Fortnite, then then that's kind of it for them. You know, it's like, think about, for us it's different, right? Because we're just older and don't have time to like dedicate to one game anyways. But like, think about like when we were in high school or anything like that. You played with your friends. And if your friends are going back to Fortnite, whether it be because their big streamer is playing it again, or they see $1 million tournament, so they want to at least be a part of it. The fact that there's that offer with Fortnite, and with Apex, all you get is a season 1 with pretty generic looking rewards. It's just,
very
Take
there's
out the
not enough
rewards.
bells and whistles, I
The
guess.
only thing they added was one new player, right? So really, from a gameplay perspective, it's just one new
Right.
player being added a month into the game. And where the difference is in Fortnite, every week and a half, 2.5 weeks, like in that time frame, it's kind of a new event is brought up in the game, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
something takes place in the world that changes, that draws attention on social media. There's a reason to go back and just see what it is at the very least, right? Like you're if you play the game, your curiosity is gonna be piqued when it's like, hey, the whole world is being filled with lava. Come and see as the world is being taken over and invaded by blah blah blah. Right? It's interesting. It's
It
fun.
is.
So you look at a month into Apex, it's like, hey, here's your one new character, but we're not really adding any additional guns. I know they've added one or two, but let's be real, they haven't been the most popular guns or something that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
changed
And I don't
anything.
even need
Um,
world events, but for God's
Not world
sakes,
events,
throw me
but
another map.
give me a couple of characters, right? You have some in line waiting. Hit it with a few, kind of increase the player count. It creates diversity in the gameplay. Adding one guy who he's not really changing the meta at all. Like he just got a speed boost is really the only thing. Doesn't really do much to like invigorate me to come back and try it out. I did obviously because I enjoy the game, but from a casuals fans perspective, I can see why they run back to Fortnite because there's just more to do. Like it's just more to play
Yeah.
with. Um, and I think different is good again. Like to Brett's point, like be proactive instead of like, oh gosh, we're losing people. What should we do now? What do we need to do to bring them back? Like let's do this now. And it's kind of hard with them launching off their season this way because you'll have to do some sort of mid-season update. Like it's scheduled to last for a while, so hopefully we see
Right.
something before season 2 comes out.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, and I think, I do like Fortnite's approach, even though I hesitate to call it like, I, I hate saying this because then it's like I'm a kind of a hypocrite when it comes to it, because I always yell at people for calling things esports or not esports. But I do like their approach when it comes to, hey, anyone who is playing in this block of time, we're recording all your stats and anything is possible. You could win a tournament, rather than like dwindling it down to segregated tournaments or like invited players or anything like that. I think there's a way you can have both, and that's one thing that I think Fortnite hurts with its esports teams, is that a lot of orgs are hesitant to get involved because they're not getting any special treatment from Epic, which is fine. Again, I don't think everyone has to bend the knee to have a set league or esports. I mean, Fortnite is the truest sense when you think about the Cinderella story esports, right? It brings you back to the olden days of MLG, where anyone could go to any of these events and win. That's how a lot of these pros happened, right? You saw them win an online event, then get invited to the LAN event, and then boom. So I don't know.
Why don't tournament organizers get involved with these games? Like Fortnite, why isn't there like an ESL Pro League for Fortnite or Apex, like any sort of tournament organizers kind
Mhm.
of stepping up, or like Face It and all that? Like, is there something that I'm missing here? Like,
So
why
I can
isn't
tell
that part of
you
this?
from
Maybe like an epic thing.
yes,
There's custom
from
games. They have
I've
custom
talked
lobbies though.
I've talked people in the industry. So for, I think, maybe like the second time in TCR history, per sources, we don't get to say that a whole lot on the show, but per sources, Epic is very stingy with who can do what with their game. So I think that's why you don't see as much of the third party tournament organizers do anything with Fortnite, because they have to go through Epic to have their permission and try to get some of the prize pool and all that. So I think that's why. Now, why don't they do that with Apex or anything privately? I don't know. You would think they would, though.
Yeah, I mean, well, even Fortnite. I mean, again, Fortnite for these guys, both of them.
But I'm
I
saying
feel
that's
like
what
at
I'm
this
saying.
point,
Epic though is stingy with who they let do Fortnite.
yeah,
I mean,
that's
even
what I'm just surprised that they don't want that type of involvement. Like, I would love somebody to run a league and like just cut me in on a deal, right? Like, hey, you're about
right,
to get all these sponsors with Intel and Nvidia and Corsair and all this, and like, hey, give us a piece of it because we're not doing it, right? Like, you might as well
right,
host it. And at the same time, they hosted a World Cup that draws in the general audience, right? Like you, me, and Brett could go make a team and go play right now and play these 2-hour skirmishes that they do weekly, and have a chance to qualify. But at the same time, you give organizations a reason
right.
to form a team and play in a competitive setting. So I'm just a little mind blown that they all seem to be a little slow when all we do is continuously hype up this billion-dollar industry, and
Well,
yet these guys are
isn't that
not
part of it though?
advancing.
Right.
It's just it
If
blows
you
my
were if
mind.
you were a game developer that made billions in revenues, would you really feel like you need to change what you're doing? It's,
Dude, I
Yeah, I
would
know,
love to
right?
make more billions. Give me trillions, like I
but
don't
see, the
get why you
players are there, right?
maybe.
Like, what is an ESL tournament gonna do for Fortnite?
Yeah, I mean,
they have
maybe
custom
they're.
lobbies where they can set the settings the way they want to. Maybe they do a lobby. Hey, there's no vehicles in our setting. Call of Duty does it. Like I don't get it. It's not like it's not being done in esports. It's not a new concept to have a different setting for a pro match than you do what we play in matchmaking. It's the same thing in Counter-Strike. They played with different timers, different settings for so
Mm-hmm.
long, 64 tick versus 128 tick. Like there's differences in the games that pros are playing, and to have that is only going to build your fan base. So again, I mean, I know it gets a little off topic when we go Apex versus Fortnite, but I think for both of them, that should be a natural like
Yeah.
progression step to take
Yeah,
as
I
we
mean, I
go
think there's a
see.
pro and con
Maybe
though, because you talk about splitting the fan, or having your pro setting in an ESL tournament or whatever, but then like look at Call of Duty, right? It kind of splits the fan base in that sense. The same thing with Halo back in the day. You had those group of people that live and died by MLG playset, right? I mean, I was one of them. If you played with Radar and Halo, it was like, why are you even playing this game right now? This is not Halo. But then you also had those people who just liked the casual version, and that's what they used.
But
So,
every game does it. From all the games we play right now,
oh,
Overwatch,
of course, yeah,
Counter-Strike,
yeah.
like they all
I'm not
have
denying
that.
that,
So
but I'm also
it's just
saying Fortnite's the only billion-dollar revenue one.
right now you have like every Fortnite pro just shitting on the game on Twitter. That's all they do all day. If you follow any of them, they just sit there and bash how crappy the game is from a pro player's perspective. And it's like you can so easily turn this around for them by making a competitive setting for them, and they choose not
maybe
to. So
maybe ultimately they don't care about the pro how valid them.
again, I guess like
But
Tim said, they're sitting up there with their 40-year-old
yeah,
scotch, smoking their
Yes,
freshly rolled Cuban cigar by the guy sitting them next to him doing it. But
yes. I
I
think
guess each their
Fortnite
own.
has and always will be for the casual player. I don't
It,
think they will ever make adjustments based off of the competitive vibe.
so it'll be the Smash Brothers of the PC gaming world.
Yeah,
So what it'll be, and it's not a bad thing. Smash is
right.
huge on console, but they're never going to be taken too seriously until it's like hey, they're playing a game that's 20 years old. Like, let's move forward type thing. Same kind of thing here. I think is going to happen with Fortnite. It's going to be a game for a lot of casual players to play, and I guess it's not the worst thing for them. But again, they're both kind of. I think if one of them took the step, it would be huge.
Yep. All right, on to the last but not least April Fool's joke. Brett, what was your April Fool's for the listener?
well, my April Fools was having LA Valiant. This is going to the Overwatch League. Having LA Valiant as a contender slash like middle of the road playoff team. April Fools, guys, got you. Uh, they
Just
are
a bit
not
off.
having the best of this season.
Just a bit off.
Uh, They are not starting off great. To the tick of 0-7 or 0-7. I mean, this is a very mysterious team, a mysterious case, and it's just a whole lot of weird stuff going on. Um, so let's go back to season one. Um, they make a trade. Good for them. They got Custa, leader, veteran Overwatch player, carries them. Well, I'm not going to say carries them. Is part of a group that takes them deep in the playoffs. Well, I say deep. They got a bye, so they automatically got to play in the semifinals and then lost to the eventual champions in the London Spitfire. So things were looking great for them. They played great in that current meta, which is the meta we're playing in now in Goats. I felt like they were going to carry this momentum going in. And guys, I don't know if you have show notes in front of you, but take a look at the active roster from 2018 to 2019. What do you see there?
Um, am I
If
looking
it's
at it that
taking you a
it's the
while,
same, right? It's the same.
exactly.
They're one of the
Yes.
few teams in the league that made absolutely zero changes.
Yeah, I mean minus a few players, but for the most part the starting lineup was intact. Even with Custa playing, they got a new support in 2019, but Custa was still kind of splitting time with them. So not a lot changing. So what happened from 2018 to
I don't
2019?
think they prepped for the meta being so heavily on goats. I mean, clearly everyone knew the meta was goats, but obviously
Mhm.
for them, they tried to not focus on it, I guess, nearly as much.
Yeah,
But
I mean they
and
did
unfortunately
add.
for them, from what we've even spoken with Zachary about, which again you can hear the full interview that we had with Dallas Fuel Zachary on our YouTube. Things aren't going to change much in stage 2, buddy. You're
No,
still looking at a pretty heavy goats meta until they figure out this new patch and how to play on it.
no, yeah. So not good for them. What are your point, Tim? They probably could have addressed that a little bit better. Um, but let me point at another, I guess, kind of weird wrinkle in this 0-7. So, everyone knows the story of Shanghai last year, the darlings of the Overwatch League, the 0 and what was it, 40 team. Um, During that season, their terrible, terrible season, they were getting blown out a lot. There were a lot of 4-0s, right?
Hmm.
It was not good. If you look at their games this year, the Valiant's games this year, they have not played a match in their 7 matches in stage one where they got 4-0'd or it wasn't close. All of their matches have been close. And I mean, just look here. I mean, they play the Spark, they lose 3-2. They play NYXL, they lose 3-2. Then Defiant 2-1, Titans 3-1, Charge 3-1, Fusion 3-2, Outlaws 2-1. So you see they're right in the thick of things. Every single match. It's just for whatever weird reason they can't finish off one of these teams. And it's also pretty rough because the lowest seed team they've played this so far in stage one has been 13th, but no team lower than 13th. They've played a lot of the top teams and kind of hung in there. So is this trend gonna continue?
I think it
I don't know.
it all depends. I'm really curious to see how stage 2 sets up because, like I said, I know a lot of people are saying goats is going to remain to be like primary meta, but I
Mhm.
do think the current patch allows teams to be a little bit more creative with their setup.
Yeah.
So maybe if the traditional goats isn't working, you can maybe have a different variation, right? Maybe have
Mhm.
the LA Valiant variation of goats.
Yeah.
I would hope that's what they were trying to do with this latest patch is to make it to where, look, you don't have to be as cookie cutter with who you're using.
Right. And maybe with their new coach, because another thing that happened in stage one, they got rid of their coach. somebody that was with them. I mean, they cleared house. They even got rid of the translator, Tim. So it doesn't.
Seems a bit unnecessary to get rid of your translator. But
what if they didn't get rid of the coach and only got rid of the translator? Like blamed it all on him.
It's just like he's the scapegoat. It's like, guys, we're gonna fix things. We got rid of our translator.
If that's not the classic GM move right there, like that is the GM about to lose his job, and he's like, I gotta change something.
It's a Korean team, and they accidentally hired a Chinese translator.
But yeah, I mean, so like I said, they've the lowest seed team they've played is 13, but they've played the Defiant, who is number 3. They played NYXL, who's number 2, and they've played the number 1 team in the Titans. So it's been a rough stage 1. A lot of good teams they played, but for the LA Valiant fans out there, it doesn't get really any better to start off stage 2. You only have to start off against the Shock, who have looked pretty good in stage 1 in this current meta, with Sinatra playing the off tank and just, the synergies there. They're really playing together. We saw that firsthand when they played the Fuel, the first game of stage 1. And then you got the Rain. Now, this one is maybe where you can find a little bit of momentum going forward. Rain, for anybody that's been living under a rock lately, Defran has retired. He's no longer with Atlanta. So that was kind of the heart and soul of the team. Kind of the guy that was shaking up the meta, kind of quirky. So
ruined the 2 minutes of E-News we just had there.
Yeah, for real.
I know, man. Gosh,
we have a thing to say in E-News, but
Defran gets listens, so it's only going to benefit us if we mention him again. So it doesn't really get easier to start off. I mean, they could be 0-9 to start off the season, and this is a team that I and a lot of analysts had as a contender. Somebody that was going to, give a run to NYXL and London Spitfire.
It's a young
season,
team
we could talk
it's
about.
just stage 1. It's just stage 1. They can still turn it around, though.
There you go. It's just odd. It's odd, and I just thought it was interesting to bring up.
Oh, for sure. But it was your April Fools, so you were never serious in the first place.
Yeah, totally. I didn't.
You always knew that they were going to be 0-7.
Yeah,
the real April Fool's joke here is all the teams that are ranked ahead of them are only good because they beat the Valiant. Maybe they all suck too.
This is very true.
I don't think the 7-0 NYXL and 7-0 Titans. Man, that is rough to play those two teams.
Never know. Let's get into some E-News. It's a short one this week. Not a whole lot happened, or we just didn't pay attention.
Fired their janitor.
One of the two. Not really sure which one. So I will preface this too, because this always helps out E-News for us. E-News, of course, the weekly segment of news that we just didn't have time to get to, or just not worth spending a whole lot of time on. But if you have anything for esports that pops up throughout the week, go ahead and let us know on Twitter @TheCenterRing, whether it be a local tournament or your own team. Zen, looking at you, that did something. Let us know on Twitter or in our Discord, and we'll be sure to always throw that into E-News, because of course we here at the Center Ring always will support the grassroots of esports. That's what it's all about. So in Overwatch, Brett ruined it, but Defran did retire again. So it was announced on Thursday that he is stepping down from Atlanta Reign's starting roster, and now he is a streamer. So they have Defran and Fran both as team streamers.
Yeah.
We could talk about this in a later episode, but me personally, I was kind of shocked because from the get-go, I was saying Defran is going to be a clubhouse infection, right? Like, he is not going to be healthy for the team. And then, I don't know, 2 weeks in, I was like, you know what? I kind of changed my mind. He seems to really be getting along with everyone and embracing the moment.
It's definitely not the way that I saw him going out. in not defraying fashion. It wasn't in a blaze of glory, right? Just scorched earth all over the place. It was just he probably looked at it and was like, hey, I gave it a roll. I want to just do streaming, and
Yeah.
this is like a best case scenario for him, right? Like he won the favor of Overwatch League, joining the league and just being that personality and kind of shaking things up, playing tour, the fans are behind him. And now he can bow out on his own terms, not in a toxic blaze of glory, and just ride off into the sunset and just
I
continue
do
his
wish he
streaming career.
gave it a whole season.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it was just so short, and he got, there's such a big fan base behind him so quickly.
And
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 it
for
was
the
just like it was
stuff he
just so
pulled at the
short.
start, where he was like
Yeah.
uninstalled and retired, and then he came back to do all that to come back for one stage. It seems just weird to me, and I think this is a topic for another episode. But is that an issue in esports? Is building players' personality, right? Because as soon as a player has personality, they can go stream career and make more money at the moment than they ever will playing on a professional team. So that's something to discuss on a later episode, because it is interesting how it seems like every personality signing that's been made in the Overwatch League always happens to leave to do streaming. A la Siegel, XQC, even though he kind of left against his will, still
Yeah,
I
his
think
is
made more money
different.
off his stream than he ever did playing Overwatch League. So
Oh, for sure.
something
Yeah.
to discuss. In other news, you have Players Lounge. Actually, have been on the show like a long time ago.
A year
We've
about.
interviewed them, and they just received 3 million. Was it 3 million?
Yeah, they got 3 million in investment following like seed funding round. So
Yeah.
some of the big names in that investment were Drake, obviously also part like co-owner of 100 Thieves, and obviously singing in Sensation, as you all know.
Wait, he
And
sings?
then I think he does
I only know him for 100 Thieves.
hippity hop, hippity hop.
Hip-
Um,
And then I love this next one, Marissa Mayer, ex Yahoo CEO.
Yeah, and like Take Two Interactive CEO also, was part of the investment. So, not only a good sized investment, but some really big names involved in it. And
The irony that an ex Yahoo CEO invested into an esports org when Yahoo cut all fundings for their esports section.
I know, right?
You can't make that up. We're not going to invest in you as a company, but I'll invest on this. I don't know if she was CEO when that was going on, but we're going to say she was for the sake of my joke being funny.
I think she was actually though.
I think, yeah. In Rocket League, again, look at this live programming right here. Brigade made it to the top 48 in RLRS play-ins. They went 2-3, or 2-3
Whoa.
games out from rival series.
Yeah.
So there you go. Friend of the show. And in other news, GameStop. Boy, they were all over the map as they partnered with Envy, Optic, and Complexity, all three big Texas powerhouses for esports. And GameStop, also being based in Texas, decided to partner with all of them. So that makes
They
sense.
also got the naming rights for their new gaming center out in Frisco, Allen, one of the two.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, so they got the naming rights for their
missed
gaming
that.
center. It's like just put up right there on the side of the building.
Question.
I think that's
Is that only Optic Center, or are they all going in on that?
I thought that was Complexity Center. It's Complexity Center. It's not Optic Center.
Okay.
Yeah, the
Okay,
gaming
so the one
center,
in Frisco is Complexity.
Yeah, so Frisco also is the House of Optics
Yeah.
warehouse /
Okay, that's
offices
what.
or
Oh,
whatever.
okay. Dude,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
so
so
hard
that-
to keep this.
That's separate. Optic or Complexity, who is partnered with the Dallas Cowboys, built a gaming center down there. They've titled it the GameStop Gaming Center or something of that sort. Anyway, it's got GameStop's naming rights on it. I think it's great. GameStop was a dying company, in my opinion, that needed to make a change. I don't remember the last time I went into a GameStop. Unless you're a console player, that's really maybe the only reason to step in there. But with digital downloads, that's also killing them. But the name branding is there, so for them to possibly take a turn into the esports world could be really good for them. And excited for that partnership and see what it brings to the North Texas area.
Excited stuff. I think we're like the only esports affiliated people in Texas not partnered with GameStop. So maybe GameStop, yo, hit us up.
Yo,
The DMs
hey,
are
what's up?
open. Guess what?
Yeah.
We're super cheap. Super cheap.
Like, I'll take 20% off on used games.
Right?
You know, like,
Freaking,
throw me one of those coupons every once in a while. We'll call it
like a
good.
Game
Like a
Informer
50
subscription or something. I'll hit you up.
A $20 Steam gift card. Just,
How
we're-
about the
we're
the
cheap.
cardboard cutouts you throw away? You just send them my way. Send them my way. We got ourselves a deal. We're partnered with GameStop. Good times. Good times, and that was a good time today, fellas.
As always.
Good, man. It was the greatest show, the best show ever. I want to thank you, the listener, for listening. Whether you jumped around, you tuned in live, or you listened to the whole darn thing, you are insane, and I love you. Zen in chat, thank you, sir, for hanging out. Money B24, what's up in chat? Thomas Baker, Cameron in chat, thank you. Wade Zetterberg said he was going to watch this whole thing. April Fools, guess what? No one likes you. Not April Fools. Charles, what's up in chat? Thank you all for tuning in. We stream on our Twitch, The Center Ring, every episode, and we also stream throughout the week as we play some video games. So go ahead and check us out there. We're friendly guys, I promise. We will be back next week with more esports talk. Talking about what? I don't know. Overwatch Stage 2, Overwatch League Stage 2 starts up. Maybe see how the meta is
Blast
playing
Pro
out.
Series Miami.
Blast Pro Series Miami. We'll figure it out, though, because that's what we do best. Until then, follow us on Twitter at The Center Ring and join our Discord to be a part of the conversation. For Brett, for Anuj, I'm Tim. We'll see ya.